Okay. In this video, I'm going to walk through the blog post that I just put out on how to add an Airbnb style date picker to your Tableau dashboard. We're going to use the JavaScript API from Tableau to do this. So I am really going to pass over a lot of the Tableau setup because I assume reading this, you got the Tableau stuff down. We're going to jump straight into the JavaScript code deal because that's where you may slip up, and I don't want those frustrations. I want to reduce those frustrations as much as possible. So, in the blog I say, hey, pop open code and get going. So let me open up a new code window, right? So I've got an empty window here, and I'm going to pop open in the terminal, and in the terminal I'm going to check my working directory. So I'm in the home directory, and I need to go into my docs. This is just where I store my code that I'm playing around with. So you can see I've done this a few times, more than I would like. In this example, we're going to make another date picker so that you can follow along. So we do npx create react app, and then we need the folder name. So let's just say date picker 4. I have made more than 4 date pickers. I regret to inform you. But yeah, that's the deal. Command tilde to pop it open, npx create react app. And there's a nice Wes Boss course on the command line if you want to check that out. We're waiting to see happy hacking, okay? So if we go back here, see it's still doing some business. We are going to run npm start once we get the happy hacking set up, or once we see the happy hacking message. Then we're going to pop into the date picker 4 window. So how are we doing? It's kind of slow. I'm going to fast forward the video so you don't have to watch all of this. Now that we get the happy hacking message, I want to show you that we're still in the parent folder. We are not in the date picker 4 folder, right? So we just made a React app within the Tableau directory. If we ls, we can see our date picker 4 app. That's where we want to be. So we need to go in there, date picker 4, and now we ls, and we see the folders that we want. To make this directory our working directory, I'm going to pop open another code window by installing, or just running that code period command. Connects out of this now. And when I open up the terminal and do pwd here, you can see we're in date picker 4. We have our React app. It tells us the folder name, and we're ready to run npm start at this point. Let's see where it starts the app. Cool. Ignore that, it's something I was troubleshooting before I made this video. It's amazing how many wrong ways you can create a date picker. All right, with this logo, good to go. Our React app is ready. But let's clean up the file a little bit. I'm going to delete this and this from the root. Go away. Oh no. Move to trash. Running file delete participants. Okay, fine. Yarn lock. What? Oh, I'm gonna cancel. Alright, that was silly. I'm going to delete the test, logo, web vitals, and setup test. From public, I'm going to delete the favicon, logo manifest, and robot. we need to update our index.html. So just remove some of this all the way down to the title, and we can make this date picker, and then remove these comments. Save that. In the app, we can update some things like removing the logo, remove the div contents. I'm just going to save this. We are going to update the div later, so that class name doesn't really matter. Only thing here is getting rid of the web vitals. Okay. We still have a build. We refresh. And good. Blank screen, no errors. Good to go. And that is this video right here. What we just walked through is the video that I've sort of instructed you to watch here. But if you're watching this video, then you get to watch it twice. Okay, just check the console. Good to go. Let's now add the JavaScript API. This is done in the index.html. Save that. Go back here. And now we need to create a components folder and put a viz component inside of it. So within the source directory, let's create a folder called components. And within the components folder, let's create a file called viz.js. Let's copy and paste that code in here, save it. And then inside the app, we're going to render our viz instead of this div. And we can import viz from, let's see, where are we? We're in the app. We want to go /components /viz, save that, and let's go back here. Undefined, this is what we got, I believe, when we were just rendering the empty div in app. But if I save this now, we can see that the Tableau object that is in our viz component right here, this guy, is getting logged. And we can see all the nice Tableau-y stuff coming through the API. Good deal. So let's go back to the blog post. Good. Yep. Cool. We just did that. All right. Now we want to grab the embed link, and there's a little GIF here showing you how I did that. But once you have that link, you're just going to want to update the viz component with this code. So I'm going to pop over here. Already there. Good. And I have another screen with my handy dandy URL for the dashboard. So I'm going to copy and paste this. Cool. Right where it says insert your cleaned URL, I'll just paste that and save it. So what this is doing is we've got a use effect here that's going to run the initViz function when the screen loads. And this initViz function is going to call setViz, and setViz is the set state function for our viz object we get when we use the use state hook. And when setViz is fired, we're going to run Tableau as new Tableau.viz. This is creating our viz object, and we're going to hook onto the div because we've got a ref to this div in our DOM. We're going to use the URL that we just created, and we're going to use these options that we have here. And as soon as the viz is fully loaded, we should get this viz is interactive being logged to the console. So let's go back, and we need to sign into Tableau. hopefully I don't get an error. I haven't been getting errors on this, but I know it happens sometime for me. I want to be surprised if I get an error while I'm doing this recording, but fingers crossed. Let's see. Good. Good. Console. This viz is interactive. Great. And to clear the console, you can just run the clear function and back to basics. Great. So we're rendering our viz. What is the next step? The next step. Good. All right. So now we got like half of the puzzle, right? We've got the viz up there, but we need a date range picker component now. And we get this from Airbnb. So in their setup documentation, you just scroll down here and it's like, hey, run this to get started. It also says if you're running Windows, that won't work for you. You should run this command. I ran that command and it did not work. So let me know how that goes for you. This command though, it does work for me. So what we want to do is we want to open up a new terminal, and I'm just going to paste that code in there and execute this. And I'm going to shut my mouth because this takes a minute, and I will fast forward through it for you. All right, so that did take a ridiculously long amount of time. Looks like 4 minutes or so. I think it was a lot of cleanup that it was doing to make sure the packages were all up to date. There are several other date picker libraries that you can use, but the objective of this blog post was to make a date picker component, right? And mash that up to Tableau, and that means we're using Airbnb's date picker, right? There are many others that are not Airbnb, but we're going with the Airbnb one because that was the objective of this blog post. Feel free to use any other date pickers that you would like, and I'll link to a few of those in the bottom of the blog post. But we can see that React Dates is in there now with a whole bunch of other goodies. Cool. So we've got that installed. Let's go back to the blog post, and we're going to update our app component now. So I'm just going to copy this, right, and go back to code, app.js, paste that in, just check out some things. So React, we made a class component. Another thing I'm not a big fan of with React or Airbnb's date picker is that they're using a class component. I'd much prefer to use a functional component, and I made examples of using a functional component, but then I just figured out how to make it work with Airbnb's date picker. So whatever. Again, this blog post is using Airbnb's, but by no means is that the only date picker that you need to use. So we are importing some date picker CSS, initialize, which I believe Airbnb talks about here. It's like, all right, this is what you're going to import. And we're using the date range picker. There are a couple other components that you can pull from React Dates, but we want the date range picker. Right? And everything else looks pretty good. We're still using our viz component. So let's see if we now get a date range picker on top of our viz. Just save that. Go over here. Look at this. And I'm gonna refresh. I might have to restart. Yeah. Yeah. So in the blog post, it's like if you don't see the date range component added to your UI, then you might have to kill the command or restart node. So let's give that a go. So we pop back over to our node server. Just gonna press the up arrow and npm start again. Great. So that actually worked. So killed the node server, started back up, and now we have our date range picker. The reason you see these little yellow lines and green lines is that I'm using the React Dev Tools, and it's going to show me all of the individual components within this component, or maybe subcomponents that are updating and have been updated recently. So that's why you're seeing all these lines, and you might not see it on your own computer. So, and this only happens when we have the terminal, or when we have the DevTools open. So if I go here, see, it's no longer showing up. But we do want to see the DevTools because we're able to see console logs and stuff like that, which we will be using very soon. All right, so we're done with that. Now we want the handler functions to update the start date and end date of our component. So I'm going to grab these. Right. And it looks like this one. I'm going to edit that in the blog post. All right, let's go up here. And these handler functions are going to be popped right in here. Okay, I'm just going to back tab, indent. Okay. So what these are doing is they are right here, like this component set state. Oh no, that was, there we go. This dot state dot start date. Oh, we might have to update that. Let me see. I believe in the app, let's see, focused input, set state. All right, what do we got? We might not even need these. Well, we might. Okay. Just gonna follow along with the blog post. We are using these with our handlers in place. Okay. We need to pass them down through the props for our viz. I just don't know if we're using those handler functions. We might be using hooks. You always find stuff in your code. You're like, was that really necessary? We will look into this before the end of this video. All right. The next step, to check that the values are coming through, we need to update the props into this component. And that's talking about this guy right here. So these are the props that we're passing into the viz component. We just did that in the app, but then we're feeding it through. So and then we use a use effect to console log the start date that we're passing in. So I'm just going to copy this code. All right, and in our viz, I'm just going to Command A, Command V, and start date is being used right here. So in this use effect, we're listening on updates to the start date, right? And then logging out the start date. Yeah. I don't think we need those handler functions. We might. Maybe when it first initializes, I don't know. I'm going to comment them out as a test. So save that, go to the viz, save this, and let's see what's happening. Okay. So everything loads, this viz is interactive. Let's select a start date. Still works. Yep, I don't think we need those handler functions. When we look at this, we can see that _D, December 13th, right? There's also some stuff here that I'm going to knock out, right? Like import moment. I'm not going to have you worry about this. I'm actually going to delete that from the blog post, so ignore things that I'm saying. We are going to set an end date. It doesn't do anything right now, but I just want to validate again. Let's see if we get December 18th. And we do, right? Cool. Looks like it's working. And I'm going to pass right over the moment stuff because that's a bit distracting. Good. Cool. So once we're able to get the start date, we can set up the use effect hook for the end date just like we did for the start date. So what I meant by that is simply coming over here and grabbing this code and just making it happen for the end date as well. So it says start right there. I'm just gonna get that. Okay, I'm gonna say end, and then right here, this is the name of the parameter. Well, it'll make more sense when we actually have to hook into the parameters. I'm gonna save that use effect, and let's test it. So now should be able to set, and I'm gonna clear the console. Good. I'm gonna refresh the screen. Cool. So we're going to select 13th. We can see the 13th there. I'm gonna select the 19th. And we can see the 19th. Good looking stuff. Alrighty. Now back to the blog post. Once you've updated your code to capture both selections, we need to write the code to update the parameter, right? So we've got our two components in place. They're functioning, but they're not tied together. They're still independent. That's not entirely true because we are passing dates from the selection through to the viz. We've confirmed this, but they're not integrated in the way that we need them to be. We are not updating the parameter values. So to do this, we need to create a function that will update the value of our date parameters every time the values are updated in the date range picker. We're going to use the same use effects, but instead of console logging, we're going to execute a handy dandy function. This is going to get stripped out, so it's like, let's also remove that moment stuff. The moment thing, you can use moment to format dates nicer than what we were seeing here. Right? You can use moment to have perfectly formatted dates that you can easily interpret, but we do not need any more distractions than we already have in this tutorial. Let's keep it simple. So the start date, right? So above, or actually below the init viz, but above the start date use effect, we're going to use this change start date function in place of our console log, right? And we're just going to pass in the start date, okay? So takes the start date. This is kind of dumb. It's not necessary. When the start date is not null, we are going to get that underscore D and the year, month, and date value. And then we are going to check to see if the viz is null. If it's not null, we're going to do this change parameter value async on the start date. So this is where you put the name of the parameter that you're modifying, or you're updating the value of, and then we're going to pass in that year, month, and day. Okay. So let's save that. Yeah, let's save that and just confirm that it's working. One step at a time, right? I'm gonna refresh the screen. Because I know this data stops at the end of 2019, I'm just gonna pop back there. Oh, I can't select any dates in the past yet, so we actually have to keep trucking along. All right, we got the start date function, right? That function is going to update the values in the start date parameter, but we want to do the same for the end date. So let's do this just like we did at the start date. Move that code, save it. Nice. Okay. And good. We still can't really test. We do have the end date hooked up, so let's see. I should be able to go back to say end of 2018. No, I can't. I can't select any values in the past. So we are still unable to validate whether or not these work. So you'll just have to stick with me. Yeah, here I'm like, let's see if they're working. Give it a shot. Oh no, we can't, right? You have to add this little prop to your date range picker. So in our app where our date range picker lives, we'll just add this prop in here. And when we save this, it'll allow us to go back in time. So now I can select dates in the past. Let's get into a valid date range. Click it. Boom. Now this is the full month of December. So me clicking December 31st isn't going to change anything. Let's select 2 days. Hello. It works. Really cool. That's actually December 1st. It's just some auto text from Tableau. Anyway, yeah, we're pretty much done with hooking these things up. The last bit is just the CSS. So let's install Bootstrap. So we'll pop back over to our other terminal. We will install Bootstrap, and I will shut my mouth. Pretty fast. Once Bootstrap is installed, we can import it into our app.js. Put it down here. React dates. This seems to be a bunch of CSS-y stuff, so I'm gonna do that way. And let's go back here. Cool. Let's add a class name of container. This is just a Bootstrap convention. We get some nice styling when we make containers in Bootstrap. All right, and then, I say let's make a styles folder inside the source directory. So let's do that. We're gonna make a styles folder. And inside the styles folder, we want a couple other files. We're gonna have the app. Oh, we already have it. I'm just gonna drag app.css in there. We have index.css. I'm gonna drag this one in here, and I'm actually just gonna rename it to be viz.css. This is gonna break some stuff, but it's fine, we will fix it. Let's go to our blog post, grab this, Command A, Command S, and then we're gonna remove the height and width from our viz, right? Because we were like hard coding that stuff, but we can actually do this in the CSS. So let's do that there. And I do want to show you what it looks like without specifying the height and width. So our viz CSS sort of broken. It's fine. Let's just imagine we don't have viz CSS. Our viz.js, there's no styles being imported, but when we get our app.js, we have plenty of styles. Let's also add this style. We go /styles slash app.css, right? Is that right? I'm in that app component. Yep. We're gonna go to the styles folder and then drop down into the app. Good. Let's see. Index.js is probably broken. Yeah. So let's just delete that line. And let's check this out. It's compiled. So let's look at it. Cool. Interesting. Okay. Let's see. I think I know. What happened. Okay, good. Good. Okay. Now, if I refresh this, great. So you see, this is what we get without setting the height and width. I don't know how tall this is, and I don't know why Tableau sort of chose 225, something like that. I don't know how large this container is, but Tableau made some guess, and that's out of control. Let's grab control of it, and we do that by creating we add a viz class name to our viz component, and we update the viz CSS. Right. We also need to import that. So let's do this. Import. We're gonna back out of this folder. We're gonna go into styles and drop into viz.css. And we're going to add class name viz. Right. Lowercase, space, save. Go back here, refresh. Cool. And now we can see that we've got the height being set. It looks like I had it set up so that you update the styles later. I think I did that just so you can sort of speed through making the files and then update the styles sort of after the fact, which is totally fine. We just did it step by step. In this example, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go to the console, and I'm surprised that we're not getting the centered style like I want. So let me figure out why that is. Bootstrap is installed. That's good. Date picker CSS is there. Gonna look over here. Down. App. We're going into styles, app.css, and this is locking into the container and all the children. Did I spell container properly? Container. Looks like I did. Interesting. Now the viz, oh, that's why. You do not put a container on your date range picker. You put a container on this, on the parent. So class name equals container. And save. Wait for it to update. Now we're in good shape. Okay? And that is it. I refer to a couple nice things, like this gallery and this open base. Open base has several other date pickers to pick from, and I do encourage you to go out here, if you're going to try to implement this, to go for a functional component over the class component that we walked through in this example. Functional components are just the way React is moving, has been moving for quite some time. Much easier to work with than class components. And Moment, the date library that's used within the React dates, is actually deprecated. Like, that project is deprecated. So you want to move past that as well. Matthew, Heffron, and Andre have been extremely helpful in supporting me while I've been making this tutorial for you all. So if you have questions, please reach out to myself, Andre, or Matthew. We're all super happy to help.